Welcome to the I Got Fired podcast, a podcast for people who have been fired or afraid that they might be. My name is Tom Spiegel. I am founder of the Spiegel Law Firm and host of this podcast. Get some legalese out of the way. This is intended as educational uses for you, the listener. It is not intended to be legal advice or to form an attorney-client relationship with the Spiegel Law Firm. So I told you it was some legalese. If you want advice specific to your case, if you want an attorney or to have an attorney-client relationship, which can be a great thing, then you guessed it, you need to go hire an attorney. So now that we've got that out of the way, today I want to talk about who, if you have an employment case, and this is true, in fact, for a lot of legal cases, who is on your legal team and how they might show up on your bill. Two related topics. So let's start with who's going to be, on your legal team. And this would be true, if you have a divorce matter, if maybe even if you're having a trust and estates matter. This is just sort of the guts of how a law firm works. And I understand a lot of people, they haven't, had an experience where they've had to hire a lawyer. So this is all new to them. So the obvious one, right? You have your attorney. Everybody knows, that relationship. That's why you come to a law firm, to get the expert legal advice and to have somebody who is a member of the bar of that state, if they need to be able to go into court and to represent you. So we all got that part, I think. The other people that you are going to see on your legal team will include paralegals and legal assistants. Paralegals are, as the name sounds, professionals who are there to assist the lawyer. Unlike law school and being admitted to the bar, there is no specific criteria to be a paralegal. There are certainly paralegal certificate programs and paralegal undergraduate programs that people go through, but you don't have to, unlike a lawyer who generally has to go through law school and pass the bar, to be a paralegal. You don't necessarily need that, although a lot of people have it. Some people just, get it on the job. And let me tell you, a good paralegal is worth his or her weight in gold, because being a good paralegal requires the ability, even if you don't, have decided not to pursue that as a career, you almost need to have the ability to be a lawyer. You obviously don't have to be a lawyer, but to be able to analyze the facts, analyze the case, to be able to write a really good first draft of legal documents, you need somebody who's really sharp and really experienced. And this is true in a lot of professions. There's a wide range of what paralegals do. Some of them are closer to a legal assistant or a secretary, where they're mostly doing filing and administrative work. Again, nothing wrong with that. And there are some who do higher end work, the first draft of legal documents, interviews with you, the client, or with witnesses. And again, they have to be supervised by an attorney. The attorney doesn't have to be standing over his or her shoulder, but the attorney is the one ultimately responsible for what goes out the door. So it's not that the paralegal is doing this on his or her own. You're not going to be able to hire a paralegal to, you can hire a paralegal certainly to help you with a demand letter that you're going to send out on your under your own name if you chose to do that. But generally, the paralegal is not going to be the one signing off on the document. It's going to be the attorney, but it's still a very important position, and it really helps an attorney provide the best service to you, because you want the attorney, doing the things that attorney needs to be able to do. Only the attorney can stand up for you in court. Only the attorney can sign the documents, the legal documents, for instance, court filings. Only the attorney can give you legal advice. You can certainly talk to the paralegal, about your case. There's nothing wrong with that, but the lawyer is the one who is charged with providing you that legal advice. So do you want the lawyer, to be able to do those things and to spend less time doing some of the support aspects of a case, because lawyers are more expensive. The other person who could be a part of your legal team is a legal assistant. Sometimes you'll see them as a secretary, and this is a person who both supports the paralegal and the attorney, and they, are doing things like, filing documents, organizing case files. For a lot of our cases, we get a lot of electronic documents. That's true in most cases now. And there's just a lot of work that has to be done in terms of, if a client emails us, 50 PDFs, well, somebody's got to go through those. Somebody's got to go, download them. Somebody's got to, put them in a folder. And that's often the legal assistant who will be doing that work. Now, where this ties in to what you will see on your bill is that you're going to see all that, or you're likely to see all this work reflected on your invoice. And just sort of a refresher on how it works when you are financing your case, where you're paying on what's called an hourly basis. That's we're not talking about contingency. Again, you're going to see the same personnel on a contingency case, but you're not going to be paying for that legal time, and you may get like invoices or work orders that the law firm is providing you to keep you up to date, but ultimately you are not paying for that work. In most other kind of cases, including in a lot of employment cases, you're paying on an hourly basis. The first thing to keep in mind is with your retainer, which you should have a retainer with your attorney, with your law firm, should spell out how that financial relationship is going to work. Understand that like for instance, in our firm, there's going to be an upfront payment. We call it funding the retainer. That goes into a special account. It's called an IOLTA account. It's actually monitored by the state that you are in. And all the interest on that account goes to the Bar Association to help people without means to be able to afford legal services. But anyway, that goes into that special account. That is your money. And unless it's a flat fee arrangement, though, that may not be, you're going to have to still fund that retainer payment. But what do I mean by that? Well, let's say, the first payment you have to make is $4,000, and then your team does, the course of a number of weeks or months, does $6,000 worth of work. Well, then you're going to have to replenish that retainer, often what's called an evergreen retainer, often to the point at which that initial amount. So, back up to that $4,000. And you may say, well, hey, I haven't, you guys have only done $6,000 worth of work. I've already funded $4,000. And you're asking me for another $4,000, but you haven't done $8,000 worth of work. That's absolutely true. But when you keep in mind, when you put that extra $4,000 in, obviously the $2,000 is going to come out, right? Because we've done $6,000 worth of work. That $2,000 remains yours. Anything in the trust account remains yours until the law firm does work. We call work against the file, or work related to your case. So let's say you have to replenish your trust account, and it gets a $4,000 payment. The law firm's done $6,000 worth of work. You do that. You put that $4,000 in. You owe $2,000, so now you've got $2,000 remaining in the trust account. And let's say, good news, your case resolves. Your former employer is going to, bump up your severance, and you're gonna get more out of this than you paid for it. So all good news, right? Then that $2,000, assuming that the law firm has not done work, comes right back to you. Certainly how we do it, and the law firm's required to do that. They haven't earned that money, and the reason that they put it, the law firm in trust, is to protect everybody, to make sure the law firm's going to get paid for the work that they do, to make sure that you're going to get the services that you need, rather than pay as you go, where the danger is you fall way behind on your bill, and the law firm ends up having to withdraw from your case, which is something we I think everybody would like to avoid. So that's how a retainer payment works. So what does that mean in terms of your legal team? You will get, or you should be getting, an invoice from your firm that shows the work that has been done. And often what you'll see is a line for the attorney. You might see a line for any particular task, a line for the attorney, a line for the paralegal, a line for the legal assistant. So for instance, the way it works in our firm and in a lot of firms, we bill on a 1/10 of an hour increment. So every 6 minutes is a 0.1. Let's say you have a phone call with your attorney. It's a short call, and it only lasts 4 minutes. But, the attorney after the call has to look at your file, does a little bit of research. They end up doing 12 minutes worth of work on it. So that's going to be a 0.2. So you're going to see 0.2 times whatever the attorney's hourly rate is. Let's assume, and this is just for the sake of argument because it's probably going to be higher than this, but let's say it's $200 an hour. In our firm, it's going to be substantially more than that. But for easy math, 0.2 times that $200 an hour is going to be, if my math is right, $40. So you're paying $40 for that task. But as part of that, the attorney might say, after they've had the phone call with you, they've looked at the file for a few minutes, there may be some follow-up work. The attorney sends an email or a G-chat or whatever to the paralegal and says, hey, this is what's going on in the Smith case. Can you, I need you to look into this for me, or I need you to pull these documents, or whatever kind of follow-on work that there is. And then the paralegal, let's say the paralegal does half an hour worth of work to pull all those documents, to look at that information. And let's say the paralegal's rate, again, is probably going to be higher than this, but let's say it's $100. So 0.5 times your $100, that's $50 that you have paid for that task. You paid your attorney $40, you paid your paralegal, they paid the attorney $40, the paralegal's getting $50. And let's say as part of that, the paralegal then turns around to the legal assistant and says, I need you to file these documents, or I need you to locate these documents for me so I can, analyze this pleading, or, review the letter, or whatever the task it is the attorney has given. Then the legal assistant is going to be pulling those files, and you're going to see usually, again, a time, a 0.1 or 0.2 for that, however much time it is. But let's say the legal assistant, their rate is $50 an hour, and the legal assistant spends an hour pulling all those documents together. Then 1 times 50, you get your $50. And I think a lot of people sometimes get confused, and they're like, why am I seeing all these charges on my bill? And the thing to remember is that's a good thing. That is a sign of a healthy firm, because that work has to get done, right? Somebody's got to go through those files. Somebody's got to pull those documents. Somebody's going to analyze the documents. Somebody's got to do it all the way through. And if your attorney doesn't have a paralegal, and if your attorney doesn't have a legal assistant, or for whatever reason chooses to do all the work him or herself, then one of two things happens. You're going to be paying for all of that at the attorney's rate, or the attorney's not going to, is not going to include that on the bill. And while you might say, well, that's great, my attorney did not include that on the bill, and sometimes that is the right thing to do, but you want your attorney devoted to your case. I mean, this is not something, this is an important matter to you. This may be one of the biggest events in your life outside the birth of a child or getting married or some kind of family event. And you want the attorney focused on the tasks that attorneys are good at and are trained for. And it doesn't help you if your attorney is constantly spinning his or her wheels, doing legal assistant work, doing paralegal work. You're not getting the best service. Now, that said, there are always exceptions. There are always time. If the attorney's there, late at night, and the paralegal's not available, then he or she is going to have to do that work, and that's okay. I mean, there can be value in that. But the point is that ideally you will see all that time on your invoice, and it means you're getting the best service at the lowest rate possible. Because again, you don't want to pay an attorney $400 an hour to go through your file to find a document when somebody. I mean, you don't need a JD to be able to a Juris Doctor to be able to do that work. A legal assistant can just as easily do that, and might be able to do it better because he or she knows the file in a way that an attorney will not, in terms of like where everything is located. So, you want to see that legal assistant time there. You want to see that paralegal time there, because it means that you are getting the highest rate of service for the lowest amount possible for that particular task, right? You want the attorney, using his or her brain power to analyze what you've said, to understand the task that needs to be done, and then to delegate that down to a paralegal who's billing out at a lower rate to do the work that a paralegal is good at. And you want the paralegal or the attorney then delegating the administrative task down to someone who is tasked with doing those sorts of jobs, because they're gonna bill out at a much lower rate. Obviously, if you're under a flat fee agreement, you're not gonna you're not going to see this point one, point two, because the flat fee is what the flat fee is. And you'll see that a lot in kind of trust and estate cases. Some attorneys, for example, family law attorneys will do it on a flat fee basis. We have on the past done cases on a flat fee basis. And, you're not paying for the time, you're paying for the outcome. So that's how your legal team is going to show up on your bill. Let's talk about some other people that you may be part of your case. It depends on the size of the law firm. Not all law firms have all of these positions, but we have a number of positions that are not solely related to legal tasks within our firm. We have our intake team, people who are answering the phone, and talking to folks and figuring out how best we can serve them and how best to schedule appointments with attorneys or other professionals. We have client service executives who are kind of our second line, who spend more time talking to people who be potential clients to give people a sense of how our firm works, and help arrange a retainer if people choose to do that. It's a really vital part of our firm, and it is a little bit different than other firms. Not all firms have that position. We do, because it provides the highest level of service that we find, and it frees up attorneys to do what attorneys do, so that they are, they're not spending their time. Because think about it, when you hire an attorney, you want an attorney focused on your case, not answering the phone and doing ancillary things like that. That's not to say attorneys can't sometimes answer the phone and talk to people. They do that in our office as well. But nevertheless, we've got our client service executives. We'll have an office manager. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes on in a law office, just like in a medical office. You'll see any number of people who are providing support services. So, we'll have an office manager who's doing everything from scheduling interviews to ordering paper to helping arrange a firm retreat. In our firm, we have a CEO. He was formerly a COO, but you'll sometimes see this position, somebody who's in a high-level administrative position, who really, because as law firms grow, being able to handle the business aspect gets more complicated, and you want somebody with that background. Sometimes you'll see attorneys do it. I think attorneys tend to think they are better at it than they are. It takes a different skill set and a different mindset, I think, to do that job well. It can help if you have a law degree, but sometimes lawyers just, I find, get in the way. Our CEO, Brian Formigas, has years of experience helping to be an administrator, a high-level administrator in law firms, and I think he'd do a much better job of it than I would do in handling the business aspects of it. Some other people that you may see in a law firm, of course, a receptionist, right? When you come to the office, somebody who's there to help you and get you water and figure out, help arrange appointments and all the things that you see receptionists do. So those are some of the other positions that you will see in a law firm. Again, these folks are not going to show up on your bill, because they are not specifically doing legal work. So what you're going to see, of course, your attorney, your paralegal, and your legal assistant, or maybe a secretary showing up on your bill, and everyone there is providing other support tasks to help make sure the law firm functions efficiently and effectively for you. So I hope that's helpful to help kind of demystify how this process works. We see this as a substantial level of confusion from people who are understandably not used to hiring lawyers on this basis. When they see their invoice, it's kind of Greek to them. We're used to this. This is the world that we live in. So it's not complicated or new to us, but some people get that bill and they're like, why am I seeing, time for an attorney, time for a paralegal, who are these people, and why are they showing up on my bill? So I think it's important to demystify that. And if you're using these services to know how to decode your own bill, and it's true with any law firm as with ours, we are more than happy to answer questions about invoices if there's confusion about it, and your law firm should welcome those. So if you have an attorney, who you're having trouble answering questions about your bill, it could be a red flag and something that you need to evaluate. I hope you found that helpful. Before we wrap up, just to remind folks, we have got a newsletter called the Career Rocket. In fact, we have a whole separate newsletter for the Career Rocket services. If you sign up for it, you'll see the link in the show notes for this podcast. You will get free emails in your inbox that will not only give you the cutting edge, legal advice, not advice, but legal knowledge, and keeping, cutting edge on what's going on in the area of law. And also, what we are endeavoring to do is provide you with all the tools that you need to protect your career. So not only are you going to find out about law, but you're going to find out, for instance, how to negotiate a better pay raise, what's the best tactics for updating your LinkedIn page, what's the latest on remote work. It's really it's intended to be a one-stop shop for you. And unlike other, some career resources that may be available to you, we also have the legal piece, because let's face it, sometimes you need that to really effectively protect what's one of the biggest investments you may ever make, and that is in your career. All right, until next time, good luck out there, everybody.